Senator McCormick.
Governor, good to see you. Catherine, good to see you. We had a great meeting, I guess a week or two ago, and I promised to visit the baddest Badlands in the Dakotas. I'm looking forward to that. And I know we got all these energy state governors here, but in Pennsylvania, we like to think that the path to energy dominance goes through the Keystone State. So I'm so glad to have you here before us today. When we met, we talked about an energy and innovation summit that I'm planning to do later this year, where we bring in energy companies, AI companies, as well as big investors, and an opportunity to really celebrate and also make more progress on President Trump's vision of energy dominance. I was happy to talk to you about that. Look forward to working with you and Secretary Wright on that, and just hoping I can start with getting your support to work with me closely on that and make that a reality.
Well, I think it's a great idea, Senator, and I think it is absolutely true. The Keystone State is the key, and there's such a resource there. I mean, wow, so few Americans understand that Pennsylvania is now producing 20% of our nation's natural gas. And of course, the fact that that innovators and in the private sector invested, the whole shale revolution that got created in this country has been a miracle. I mean, we went from being one of the largest importers of energy to one of the largest exporters. And at the time, in Russia, they ran a campaign with all of the psyops they have. We can't be naive. They pounded Europe for 10 years of getting everybody in Europe and Germany to shut down all their base load so they could buy natural gas from Russia. Then they invade Russia invades Ukraine. The price goes up. Russia makes bank like they've never made before, and they're funding a war against us. Germany then rushes to try to reopen their base load power plants. They're doing all that. If America hadn't come to the rescue with LNG exports from our country to Western Europe, this thing could have escalated even beyond the tragedy that we see today in Ukraine.
So couldn't agree more, and that really relates to my second question, which is Pennsylvania is, as you mentioned, the second largest natural gas producer, and yet America's allies, even states across our great country, can't get access to LNG. So we need to really expand LNG exports. And it'd be a huge win and create a lot of great jobs for Americans, a lot of great jobs for Pennsylvania. So as chair of the National Energy Council, how will you work with the administration to increase natural gas production and new export terminals, get new export terminals online in places like Pennsylvania as quickly as possible?
Well, of course, I learned in the private sector in public companies, you want to make forward-looking statements, and the Energy Council is yet to be created, hopefully by an EO, early in this administration. But one thing I would say that's not a forward-looking statement, it's just a fact, and talked about it with Senator King. But we've got 80% of the homes in Maine are still heating their homes with heating oil. It's 41% in New Hampshire. And we can't get a pipeline with clean U.S. natural gas into New England to states like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. And at the time of the Russian invasion, not only had Western Europe become dependent, we were offloading hundreds of thousands of barrels of dirty Russian heating oil into New England.
Boston Harbor, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's like we have a national security issue, and we've got to be able to get clean U.S. energy to every state. We need the transportation networks, whether it's pipelines or transmission lines, to do that. We can't be at a time of risk, of global risk like we are now in global national security, to not be to be in a position where we're exposed to supply chains that depend on our adversaries, whether it's critical minerals with China or whether it's heating oil from Russia or uranium from Russia. We can't be dependent on them. We've got the resources here. We need to develop them.
Like many energy-producing states, Pennsylvania has thousands of orphaned wells that need to be plugged. Many states have programs to plug these wells that have worked pretty well over many years. I'm concerned that the federal funding that's available for that's being held up for a number of these projects because of red tape. And so, as Secretary, will you streamline these requirements so states like mine can quickly access the much-needed funding to plug these wells?
Well, this is I don't want to say a passion project because I'm passionate about a lot of things, but the federal legislation which was put in place during after the pandemic was modeled after something we created in North Dakota, and I want to thank Senator Hoeven, Senator Kramer for their work on doing that. Pennsylvania, of course, you guys have been producing in drill and oil wells since the 1880s. North Dakota's first one wasn't until 1951, so ours were all easier to track of. We've got ours down now in North Dakota to under 200. There are other states that have tens of thousands of abandoned orphan wells, and this is something from an environmental standpoint we've got to take care of. The technology's there, we can clean it up, and there's ways to do that, and it can be great for the local economy, great for reclamation. There's a way to do it. So I've got a lot of knowledge in this area, and you can count on my support to make sure that we've got a
look forward to working with you on
take care of this. I mean, part of it, the U.S. can be energy dominant, but we have to maintain the path which we're on. We do it cleaner, safer, and smarter than anybody else in the world, and we have to maintain that.
Thank you.